Hey everyone, I'm Ultimate456, you're the Ultimates, and welcome to episode 67 of Let's Platinum Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. Let's look back at the first murder.
It was late last night. The culprit was in the empty room on the 4th floor. The culprit was preparing the seance murder they had planned. To use the floorboard as a seesaw, they had to cut the crosspiece supporting it. The plan was to make the same preparations for all 3 empty rooms. This would divert suspicion away from the culprit and whoever picked a room. To cut the crosspieces, they needed a saw. I imagine they got one from the warehouse. They were planning to cut the crosspieces in all 3 rooms. However, when the culprit was working on the middle room, the unexpected happened. Angie walked into that room and saw the culprit making their preparations. She needed some fire for the ritual and had gone to the room for a candle. At that point, the culprit had not finished the setup and was just cutting crosspieces. Angie might not have concluded that it was tied to some kind of murder plan. But now that Angie had seen it, the culprit couldn't use the seesaw trick. Any other person might have just given up, but not our culprit. The culprit took the floorboard they loosened and struck the unsuspecting Angie in the head.
Okay, so quickly. So Angie walks into the room where Korekio is preparing the murder, thinks nothing of it, or at least not enough of it to, be aware of what he's doing. He's literally got that saw to cut the crosspiece, and then turns her back on Korekio and gets hit in the head. Man, Angie's a moron. And also, it's very interesting that she would have chosen the middle room to enter, because from her position, walking down the hallway to the 3 identical rooms, the first room seems like the most logical choice for pretty much any human. But I guess with the way that she was like, da 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 da, and then, walk into the middle room. But yeah, she's a moron. Look at that animation. Drip.
The culprit did not want to give up on their plan and had to improvise. They wrapped duct tape around Angie's injury to stop the bleeding. Then they picked up her unconscious body and carried her to a research lab. While she was unconscious, the culprit hurried to tie up this loose end.
I haven't thought about this completely, but also, killing Tenko made it much easier to figure out who killed Angie and how they did it, because the dried bloodstain underneath the floorboard probably wouldn't have been the first place to look. It was so far away from the murder scene, or the supposed murder scene, so he went to the trouble of killing Tenko, which made it easier to catch him. Which is what Kokichi actually said, more clues. Interesting.
But because they were in a hurry, they made a crucial oversight. They didn't notice the duct tape had peeled off and was under Angie's body. Without that evidence, we may never have figured out the culprit's trick. Carrying the supplies they needed, the culprit returned to the Ultimate Art Lab. Locked the front door from inside. And took out the katana they brought from their own lab. They then stabbed Angie in the back of the neck, finally killing her. Then, to further confuse us, the culprit attempted to make a locked room mystery. First, they used rope from the warehouse and hung 4 effigies upside down. There were 2 reasons for this: to overwhelm the room with an occult atmosphere, and the other was the key to locking the room. The culprit stuck the katana into Kaede's effigy near the rear entrance. And spun the effigy around to twist up the rope. After enough turns, the culprit let go and headed for the rear door. Once released, the effigy began spinning, and the gold leaf katana with it. The handle of the katana then hit the sliding lock, locking the door. A difficult trick, but remember that the lock was so loose it moved at the slightest touch. The culprit also would have had the opportunity to attempt it many times. Once complete, the door was locked, but the duct tape was left behind. Perhaps the culprit noticed it, but by that point, it was too late. The room was sealed. There was no way for them to get back inside. Then, this morning, we opened up the room and discovered Angie's body. But the culprit wasn't finished. They wanted one more murder. To do that, they manipulated us into performing this seance. Of the 3 empty rooms, the middle one was chosen for the seance. I was invited by Kokichi to take Kibo's place in the seance. Tenko volunteered to be the medium, but she never imagined it would get her killed. To perform the seance, the culprit claimed they needed something for Tenko. A small stone that Himiko had brought from the courtyard. Tenko, at the culprit's request, bowed her head until it was touching the stone. That position was instrumental in making sure the murder went as planned. Next, Kokichi and I placed the iron cage over Tenko in the middle of the magic circle. The culprit then volunteered to drape the white cloth over the iron cage. We didn't realize it at the time, but that was a deliberate decision by the culprit. They needed to set up the murder weapon that was used to kill Tenko. While they were covering the cage with a cloth, they secretly placed the sickle. Finally, 4 of us placed the wooden statue on top of the cage. The culprit used the weight of the statue to keep the murder weapon in place.
That's another thing. None of them noticed that the statue was wobbling very slightly when they put it on.
After the preparations were complete, we began the seance. In complete darkness, we each stood in one corner and sang the Caged Child song. When the song finished, the soul of the dead was supposed to enter the medium, but our culprit had another plan: to commit a murder in the darkness. Right after we started singing, the culprit began making their way toward Tenko. It would have been quite difficult to do in total darkness, but our culprit had a guide. They used the lines of the magic circle drawn with salt. The culprit felt for the salt and used it to guide them along. And when the culprit reached the center of the circle, they found the floorboard that had its crosspiece cut off the night before. Then lifted up their foot and stomped down hard on the floorboard. The floorboard lifted up like a seesaw and pushed Tenko's body up toward the ceiling of the cage. Tenko was stabbed in the back of the neck by the sickle on the top of the cage. She was killed right before our eyes, and we didn't even see it. After committing the crime, the culprit followed the salt back to their corner, finished the ritual, and had us light the candles. We followed the culprit's directions and removed the equipment used for the seance. And discovered Tenko's body. And while we were all focused on the body, the culprit picked up the sickle and dropped it under the floor through the hole in the corner of the room. Ironically, the final step of the murder was unwittingly carried out by us. The culprit had planned the murder so that we would unintentionally destroy some evidence. That evidence was the magic circle that the culprit used to navigate in the dark. However, the culprit didn't know that Kibo had taken a picture. He really saved us. Without that, we wouldn't know what changes were made to the circle. But now we know for certain, and we know the culprit drew the magic circle. Korekio Shinguji, the ultimate anthropologist. You're the culprit behind these murders. That's where my detective work leads us. It all fits.
Sweet Korekio. There were times when it's necessary to admit defeat. Admit? Yeah. Okay.
So you finally admit you did it.
Unfortunately. Yes. Yes. It's unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. My one regret, my only regret, was not being able to make 100 friends.
100 friends?
It was my dream to make 100 friends. Oh, it's so unfortunate! I was so close to 100!
What are you talking about? I do not understand a word of this.
Who gives a fuck? Let's vote for this kooky bastard and be done with this already!
Roger that! One voting time coming up!
The heart racing excitement as...
The heart racing excitement!
As the blackened and the spotless finally face off,
It's voting time!
Alright, voting time. The culprit behind these two murders is Korekio Shinguji.
Now then, it seems the voting has finished. Let's see the result. Who'll be chosen as the Blackened. Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one?
Okay, let's see how many coins I got. I can't remember. Perfect. I think I screwed up like one thing, but this should be okay. Nice. 439 is pretty good. Alright, excellent. This refute wasn't very good, but other than that, still normal 1.3 times. I've said that before, there's some kind of like weird glitch there. But anyway, we did it. Let's continue for a little bit longer. So we've got 4 minutes. Seriously? You're correct again!
Absolutely right!
Amazing! This is the 3rd correct verdict in a row!
All right!
If you manage to get 12 correct verdicts in a row, you'll proceed to the bonus round. How's this gonna last that long?
For now.
It's finally over.
No.
Not yet. I haven't heard his answer yet. Kyo, why? Why did you kill Angie and Tenko?
Right!
Yeah, he no need to kill them both, no matter what motive he have.
Oh?
Motive? Hey! Did your motive have something to do with the transfer student who was resurrected? Even if it did, though, how did that trigger a murder?
Hey!
Don't tell me. Were you actually scared of the resurrection ritual, Kaito? Shut up! I never said I was scared. The resurrection ritual had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it? Because we're friends, I'll tell you. I never once believed in the ritual. I would never kill someone over such a silly thing as that.
What?
So it has nothing to do with the motive?
Eh?
Then why?
Yes.
For the one that I love.
There is someone that I love.
From the bottom of my heart. Someone so dear, someone I long for. We've heard about this already.
I love her with all my heart, and she loves me with all her heart. Yes, we vowed an endless love to each other, forever bound by fate. None can come between us. We are bound by an intense love, no matter what anyone says.
What?
Bragging about your perfect love life? F you, some of us aren't that lucky. So to see this lover of yours, you had to escape.
Don't tell me.
That's why you killed Angie and Tenko? But why did you need to kill both? If you asked if I did it to escape this place, my answer would be no.
Wonderful.
Because I have no need to escape this place. The one I love is inside. Inside?
Wait!
Don't look at me, I'm not his lover.
Yeah.
Calm down. No one would want a disgusting, crap stuffed bitch like you anyway.
Curse Sploosh!
What? Curse sploosh. Jesus Christ. Kyo, who is it? Who's this person you love?
Hey.
Is it really one of us? When I say inside, I do not mean inside this academy.
You see,
I mean inside me.
sister.
Yes, the one I love lives inside me. My dearest sister. Sister?
Wait!
Don't look at me, I'm not his sister. Well, duh, if you were his sister, he would have killed himself already.
Wait!
Your sister? But didn't you say she was your lover?
Whatever is the matter.
It is not that difficult. My sister is my lover. Okay. If you notice now,
I loved her so deeply, and she loved me so deeply.
so they just showed this, and now in the top left corner it says no physical connection.
The fact that we were siblings meant nothing to us. They called it forbidden love, but none could stop the love we shared. Oh, how I long for my sister's warmth. The only time I felt at peace was when I was enveloped in my sister's warmth.
Okay.
For my beloved sister.
Okay, I'm gonna stop here and we're gonna do one more episode, and that should, hopefully it'll be like, 15 minutes like I've been getting for chapter 1 and chapter 2, and then that way we finish chapter 3 and we can start chapter 4 in the next episode, or the episode after that. So for now, I want to thank you all for watching episode 67 of Let's Play Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. My name's Ultima456, you're the Ultimates, and I'll see you next time.